Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk a little bit about diffusion and a little bit about negative fill. So I'm Daniel Norton, photographer here in New York. I make videos like this about technique, about philosophy, and yeah, I'm going to try to do these shorter videos again during this time period where we all kind of maybe need to be creating more. So yesterday I talked a little bit about hardness and softness of light, which has to do with your shadow. You can watch that video. I'll put a little a card so you guys can jump to that one, and I'll put the link in the description too for people that aren't watching it on computer. But anyways, so this is one area that really gets people confused, I think, or the terminology. I mean, I think people understand it, they just don't really understand or use the words properly. And why that's important is when you're dealing with other photographers, right? Or dealing with the photo assistants. If you get a bigger project and you have to actually have somebody do lighting for you, hopefully the wind is not going to kill us. You need to be able to describe things correctly, or I mean, it's important to know the right terms, right? So basically, as I talked about in the other video, hardness, softness has to do with your shadows. Diffusion or specularity, so diffuse versus specular, those are the opposite sides of the spectrum, have to do with your highlights, basically. So your specular highlight, which is your bright highlight, and then you've got like your neutral, right, which is your kind of skin tone. Let's say if you're shooting a person, your specular highlight is going to be controlled by how bright it is going to be controlled by how diffuse your light is. So adding diffusion to a light will reduce the contrast in your highlights, basically bring your highlights down, as we say. It doesn't necessarily make the light softer, and I think that's the thing. Like, you might say, hey, how do you make a light softer? And people often say, well, you diffuse it. It's not true. If you diffuse the light, it doesn't necessarily make it softer, unless it also makes it larger, which is often the case, which is why I think this is confusing for some people. So, for instance, if I have a sheet of diffusion that's, let's say, a foot square, 12 inches, right? And I have a light source that's small, let's say 2 inches, right? And I put the diffusion in front of the light far enough out that the light hits it and the diffusion itself becomes the light source. Now my light source has gotten bigger. So it's bigger, which means it's softer. It's also diffused, right? However, if I put that diffusion directly against the light, let's say it's flash, and the light remains at 2 inches, and I shoot a picture, the shadow edge won't change. Basically it will stay hard. It'll be a hard light still, but it'll be diffused. So sometimes we want to use a hard light that is diffused, because let's say we have a pattern we're trying to make, but our highlights are blowing out. We can add diffusion to our light. At the same time, we might want a large light source, a soft light source, that is, right, because a larger light source is going to be softer. That's specular, because maybe we want some glamour. You actually see that a lot with, like, let's say, silvered umbrellas. We put a silver umbrella, on like it makes a more glamorous kind of poppy shot than let's say a white lined one, right? It's a way that you can use a soft light on somebody. Let's say that you want to hide some of the imperfections, because soft light will do that, but you still want that snap of glamour. So you use like a silver umbrella for that, right? So that's basically the difference, right? Specular means your highlights are bright. Diffuse means your highlights are less bright, kind of less contrasty, I guess is the best way to say it. So it's all about contrast control. Hard, soft, and specular diffuse together control the contrast of your image. Basically, the contrast between what is your normal exposure in a portrait, your skin tone, right, versus the rest of your exposure. Your shadows, your background, your highlights that might be on somebody, a catch light, whatever, a hair light, all that stuff, those might be highlights. And that's what that's about. So the other thing that I often seem kind of misused, or people don't really understand, is what's called negative fill. So I'll start with fill, because that, just in case people don't know, if you're new, I keep doing this because I'm trying to block the mic because it's windy. If let's say I'm standing here and I have the sun, I can't see myself because I'm looking this way, but I assume the side of my face is in shadow, right? Because the sun's over here. If I brought in like a white card in or something, it will bring that shadow up. That's called filling, right? You fill the shadow, you fill it with light, basically. So we call that fill, right? Negative fill is kind of the opposite, but not really. So the thing is negative fill is all about, in a sense, reflecting black. Because the same is true. Like if I was to take, let's say, a piece of foam board that's red, I've actually done this in the videos, and I put the piece of red foam board here, it will bounce back red light into, my shadow area, and it will fill it, but it will fill it with red. So negative fill kind of works like that. It's filling it with black. but it's not, what it's actually doing is reflecting black. So for instance, if let's say you had somebody in a white t-shirt against a white background, and you were lighting it very kind of like bright, okay? What you might end up with is you might lose these edges. You know, you might lose the edges of the shirt against the background if you actually make the shirt very white and the background very white. What you can often do is bring something like negative fill in, which is basically like black cards oftentimes. You bring it in on the sides, and the edges of the white shirt will basically reflect the black card, and then that's essentially what negative fill is. I see people using it a lot when they're just blocking the light or flagging the light, which is not really negative fill. You know, negative fill has to do more with the reflection. It might seem strange to say, but kind of like a reflection of black, and not meaning that meaning that your subject is getting the reflection of the black. It's usually black. It doesn't have to be black, but you know, usually. That's really what it's for. It's another means to add contrast. I mean, all these things end up being about contrast. It's not blocking light. That's what's important. Blocking light is flagging, and I'm actually going to do a video about flagging. Somebody asked me to do a video about flagging light. Negative fill is not about flagging light. So that being said, like if there's something that is, let's say for instance, I'm standing near a wall, let's say that is bright white, and the light comes past me, hits the wall, and fills in my shadow, and I don't want that. If I put a black card against that wall, that's not negative fill. That's actually just blocking that light from bouncing off the wall. You know, it's basically getting rid of, it's removing the fill essentially. So it's not truly negative fill. You know, it's more just blocking light. Anyways, I'm hanging out here. It's a nice day. I'm gonna walk a little bit more. Let me know what else you guys want to see. I'll be back tomorrow with something. Like I said, I'm going to do the flagging video. I'm also working on my one light bulb, one cup shot. Well, it only needs to be one cup, but I see some people have been putting them on Instagram and tagging me. That's awesome. Super fun. I'm glad you guys are out there doing it. I did see that somebody hashtagged Daniel Mugshot, which I thought was really good. I wish I'd come up with that idea because that'd be a good hashtag. Yeah, get yourself a cup, get yourself a single light bulb, and make it work. Now, I'm just going to tell you, because I'm shooting mine, that I'm not sure what other people have been doing, but if you think I'm just going to hold the light bulb next to the cup, you don't know me very well. So yeah, I've got something coming. I'm going to shoot it tonight, do the best I can recording a video of it. Again, I don't have all my equipment I normally use to make the onset videos here, so we'll see, you know, exactly how it'll turn out, but I'll make sure I make it as clear as possible, I guess. And we'll see what I can get. I'm not guaranteeing an amazing cup shot, but hopefully it'll be fun to do. And I love the idea of stripping it down and just kind of doing what we can with what we've got. So keep shooting those shots with one light bulb. Keep posting them and tagging me, and of course I'll check them out. They put a smile on my face when I see them. So I appreciate that. I will be back tomorrow again with another video. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell so you get the notifications. And I'll see you next time.